live.
though. I'm doing a Tony. I'm gonna go off in a huff.
Oh, shush.
I'm gonna sit here and eat my twirl.
Oh,
Talk
are we
amongst-
Is it a
upsetting now?
twirl or is it the Aldi impersonation of a twirl?
Oh no, it's a proper twirl. Yeah. Do you know
you're
what?
really pushing the boat out
Do you know
tonight.
what it was, right? Oh no, I'm not.
Right, the
not
show has
telling
started.
I can hear someone's. Hang on, it's me.
Hello, everyone in the chat. Hello. Let's give. Oh, we've been greeted by Aries, fpv./se, Crash Test, Lurgy. Who else? Painless is here. He's our guest tonight. James Shirrill. Wynn's here. How you doing? Fraser's here. Who else is here? Spider FPV, Robin's FPV, Laser Knight, Mr. Thrust, Mondo, Clive, The Bull, Fruity Cakes, Damon, Neil Jones, who's not actually, NJ Tech, Catman FPV, hello, how you doing? Rob Britton, Richard Warwick, Ben Sweeney, hello. Oh, thank you all for tuning in. Got a little, we're a little light on the ground, so we've got our lovely guest, Painless 360 here tonight.
Hello.
We've got someone who's slightly upset and chewing a Twix, Andy RC.
It's a twirl, and it's a genuine twirl. How do?
Other snacks and whatnot are available. This isn't an ad, and this is not suitable for children. And on that note, can we get a disclaimer from Curry Kitten?
Yes, you can. Hello, by the way. Where's my disclaimer gone? Oh, here we are. Any views expressed by any guests on the show are personal and may not reflect the views of host or any participant of the show. That said, we've got Painless on today, and he is a safe pair of hands. Have no fear.
And I am Bright Till I Fly, and you are listening, watching, or enjoying, or somewhat tolerating Let's Drone Out, probably one of the longest FPV podcasts. And we'd like to welcome James Jurrill, our newest Patreon, with $1 Thank you, buddy. Enjoy the blue spanner. And I don't know whether you want to, editor, you want to put that first and then the intro. I don't know, make it sound better. Tonight we are going to talk about the HDOs. For you who don't know, they've remade the HDO 2's, which are a brand of goggles made by Fatshark, and Painless 360 has them. And for some reason, I think he's bootlegged a sticker on the front of it, so they might not even be real.
They're just HDO standards. They're not HDO 2's. I've just put another sticker on them. But I'll talk all about that when we get to that bit.
That's not true, right?
No, is it bollocks? Don't, honestly.
You see how gullible I am.
Quick, get a Sharpie. Tell him you've got the HDO 3's.
Yeah, hang on. I've got one here.
Oh no. Don't forget, this is also an audio podcast, so you'll have to describe everything you do. You just duck down. He actually got a Sharpie. He's now writing on his brand new goggles. God damn it.
It'll be fine. I've got some acetone. Right. Hello, can I just check as well? I just saw that Wynn mentioned in the chat that the audio level was a bit low. For everyone in the chat, can you just let us know if you can hear us okay?
I've cranked.
Yeah, it sounds okay. Like,
there you go.
Sounds okay to us.
Yeah, it sounds all right to me. It was just Wynn mentioned it sounded a little low.
The fact that they've got sound and vision at the same time straight away is like way up over the normal podcast we've been doing lately.
I felt bad, like old Frank, who's really the secret sauce for this show. That is why I shout at you, my lovely little Andy RC, because without Frank, we'd all be, sorry, editor, we'd all be fucked. Anyway, I need you, Andy RC, as much as you like think that we all gang up on you and bully you. We need to talk about Adgate 3.
I didn't think that.
Okay, good. You are my...
Talk about what?
Adgate 3. you know, child friendly content on YouTube, etc., etc., as well.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. I wasn't sure. It was actually Wayne that messaged me and said, "What are you going to do about this?" But essentially, you the best thing to do, it seems, is just select all your videos as non-child friendly, because if you select them as child friendly and they're not, then you get punished. But if you select them all as non-child friendly, then there doesn't seem to be any downsides. And when we're talking like kids, you're talking there.
under
It's
13.
basically like YouTube. Yeah, under which is weird because that was their policy for a long time, that you had to be 13 to have an account. But I think what has caused this is some of the biggest channels are these channels where they are reviewing children's toys, and of course,
Yeah.
parents are going to want their kids to look at them. So it's YouTube. To me, it's them wanting to make more bucks on more advertising and stuff.
Yeah. 'Cause-
Some weird stuff's been happening though. Like I've been posting videos, to do with RC, and people have been putting in the comments, and I think they've been trialing something before this announcement, because they were saying all of my recommended videos are like children's toys. What have you put in the tags? And I'm like, nothing. I don't know if any of you guys have that.
That's kind of one of the reasons why we got Painless here as well, because you're fairly child friendly, aren't you?
I really try to be, because my wife's a teacher, and her classes always end up finding out at some point that her husband is a YouTuber. So obviously, primary school kids think
cool.
that being unbelievably cool. So I'm always cognizant of the fact that there's lots of underage kids watching the channel, which is why, with the exception of probably the one swear word that I've already done, just to don't be daft. Of course, it's not that. I try not to. I mean, most of you that speak to me in the real world will know that I'm quite sweary in real life anyway, but for the channel, I'm super careful about it. And if anybody makes any uses any foul language or anything in the comments, I have filters set up that automatically kind of put that into spam.
Yeah.
Because what I would hate to happen would be one of for my wife to have a conversation with one of the parents of the kids that she's teaching, who had used a word that they'd read on one of my videos in one of the comments, that I would just feel horrible. So that's partially the reason. And also there's two swearing tends to come with a lot of negativity. It's not always like what's that, the lovely chap that always swears a lot, he's getting quite old now.
PewDiePie.
No, the comedian Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly uses swearing in a very fun, light-hearted way. Most of the swearing that I see in comments are usually part of a tirade or someone personally attacking somebody else. So it's not appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate to have it in a YouTube channel, particularly where mine's supposed to be about us all sharing information and helping each other out and helping get more out of the hobby. Calling somebody a face or something, or even worse, is just, it's not really constructive. Everyone, people forget that we all came into this hobby on day one not having a clue what we were doing, and when people have been doing it for 6, 7, 8 years, it's hard to remember back to those days when you didn't know what the difference between an ESC and a BEC was. And just because someone else doesn't know today doesn't mean they're an idiot. It just means they haven't come across that yet.
Took me ages to learn the vocabulary. The best.
Sorry, I was going to say, fortunately, I'll let you speak in a moment, Jack. Just hold there a sec. The YouTube definition is not so much about being child friendly, because I think many of us sort of strive to be quite friendly on the channels. It's more about, you have to define if your videos are targeted specifically at children. So it's like, are you making this for a child specifically, as opposed to being child friendly? Because I was a bit nervous at first by saying these aren't made for kids, because am I saying they're made for adults? And you're not. You're just basically saying I am not targeting this at under 13-year-olds. I'm not trying to say these are for under 13. So you're perfectly safe to say these are for adults, and that's fine.
I might. It's to do with targeting children.
The thing that worried me was that Jack's annoyed because okay, I'll shut up. Carry on.
Fucking just talk.
The thing that worried me is that the RC hobby, if you buy like say a quadcopter from, I don't know, wherever, like some toy store, it says for ages 14 and above. So I kind of thought, well, there's no swearing in the videos that I make, but if I'm reviewing a product where it says for ages 14 and above, and you're saying that that's targeted at kids, they'll say no. Could they say no, it's not, that product's for 14 and above, and we're gonna demonetize all of your videos and disable all your comments and things, because that's the penalty. So I just didn't risk it. What about you, Wayne? Have you gone not aimed for kids or not?
Yeah. As I just mentioned, I was slightly concerned by saying it's not for kids, that you were sort of saying I'm a mature channel, but you're not. You're just essentially saying this is not targeted at children. So yeah, I've already marked all mine as saying not for children.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Because you could just then carry on regardless without any extra worries or hassles.
Yeah, but with you, Lee, you're saying that you went like
No. I would agree. I don't think it's for children. I wouldn't expect a lot of the children to be buying KP in the 2's and Ardu plane builds. But I'm saying that although I'm going to say it's not for children, I'm still aware that lots of children still watch the content. So I'm kind of, I'm always aware of that. Because people are making some great comments in the chat, and it's about although we're all probably mentally 12, 13 years old, because we do what we do, but it is one of those fun parts of the hobby that it does cover all ages. So you can't, it's tricky, isn't it? Because we could make a video that somebody who's at the start of secondary school and building a drone as part of their D&T course with their teacher will find it as useful as somebody who's a 56-year-old guy in the middle of Australia. Hello to all you 56-year-old men in the middle of Australia, by the way.
Yeah.
You don't know it. So yeah, I think you have to, and then if you do accidentally have mature content, the odd swear word, or you're looking at stuff that isn't appropriate for the younger audience, then it's like it sounds like it's to comply with some legislation, isn't it?
It's U.S. legislation as well, but it's
but it said it literally, it doesn't. We don't care where you are in the world. We have to comply with this.
Yeah,
weirdly.
Yeah. But when I was at Mini Air Show, this little lad, he must have been 8 years old. He was with his dad, and it was like, oh, he's your biggest fan. Have you got any stickers? Can he have his picture taken with you? And it really made me think. Wow, I need to. I didn't realize. Obviously, his dad and him watched the videos together, but it really made me think about, I need to be careful what I say, because there are, with parental guidance, or PG, I guess you could say, you can have young people watching your channel, and this kid wanted to come to my car just to get the sticker from me. It was a really. It was really.
Come on back to my car. I got some good stickers for you.
It was a really sweet moment, but it really made me think about how I present myself on my channel, because I've had.
Now.
No,
that's been my only problem, because I've deliberately been quite careful on the channel about keeping it nice and child friendly, because my daughter's at school. Her friends know I do this. In fact, she says, "Dad, you're the most second famous person," because damn that guy that does round the world yacht racing in my daughter's school. However, the only time I've got into trouble is when I was in the lounge with my family and I pressed play on a Facebook message from Tony, where it ended up with a slight tirade of many words, and my wife said, "I don't think you ought to do that show," because of that. Other than that, it's all good.
Oh my word. You're right, Painless.
I'm fine. It was just that we were talking about kids knowing at the end. James mentioned in the chat that my lad knows Painless 360's voice from across the house, and I read it as I was literally taking a sip of beer, and I nearly spat it all over my my keyboard. So thanks for that, James.
I'd just like to remind you that your voice, that kid's the same as hearing the Ice Cream Man tune playing in the street. I'd just like to put that.
What?
The Pied Piper of RC.
Speaking of RC, should we get back to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got
Tell us about the exciting goggles.
Well, the reason I'm here is because I was watching the first half of the show last week, and I pinged Frank to say, I've actually got them. So all the speculation and questions you guys had, I thought I can come on and just answer it because I've obviously had them in my paw. And Frank said maybe this week isn't the best bet because we're having some technical problems, which seems to be the standard operating procedure for the show. So he said, come on next week. So here I am with goggles. So I can give you a quick overview, but I just wondered if you guys could kind of run through some of the questions that you'd had or the questions that you still had burning in your mind, and then we could kind of use that to talk about the goggles, and I can go through the specs.
Can Andy RC touch them if he gets a new phone?
If Andy buys a new phone so I can ring him up, I am more than happy to meet up, and he can have a good go on the goggles.
I love how you say have a good go, but then had to add on the goggles just to make sure.
I can't leave open-ended sentences in this company like that, can I? Really?
Well,
I'm just asking trouble.
I'm actually saving up for some because I think the goggles that everybody wanted all along for like the last 8 years, and it seems to me that everybody has gone out and bought them. From what I can see, everyone's up, like, we've had from when the HD Zero, not the OLED, the first HD came out, and everyone was like, oh, it's not quite good enough, and now they just seem to have listened, and they just have everything that everybody's been asking for from the start.
I suppose the big question. Yeah, we mostly had a bit of a slight whinge about the features that weren't in there, but I suppose the big question is for a lot of people is, if you had the HDOs, are they worth the upgrade to the HDO 2s? Do you get enough out of it, do you think, to sort of, is it worth spending the money again?
Right, I've just put them on because everyone in the chat saying I should be wearing them. So for those listening in the audio part, they are now perched on my head because it's spectacularly difficult to wear earphones for the audio recording and put Fatsharks on, and I've never realized that until this point in my life. So thank you to everybody. I've just learned something tonight. So I think with Andy, I've got to agree. I think these are what the HDOs should have been. Looking at these, the big difference is they've got the increased panel. So you've got some new goggles coming out which have a similar panel, so it's gone up to 1280 by 960 pixels. But the big news is it's individually focused. I'm gonna have to take them off. Oh, knickers! I'm gonna have to take them off now because I can't show you in the. And of course, I have to audio describe everything, don't I? But on the bottom, for those of you that are watching, we seem to be stuck on Wayne, but in the little thing at the bottom, so there is individual focus for each eye that goes from, I think it's +2 to -6. And the IPD adjustment's a lot bigger, so it goes from 54 to 74. I think the original ones was something like 59 to 69. And the actual width of the, oh, look at that, it makes it look like something like Rainbow Six that way, if you turn them the other way around. Look like I've got night vision goggles. The actual width of the goggles themselves is about 5mm wider. So if you've got a really wide brow, you can fit them easier. But what I found with them is the bigger field of view. It's 46 degrees up from 37. Now I've got used to 37 degrees because I've been using the HDOs as a daily driver, and I've been happy with 37. But going from 37 to 46, it's a bit like that guy that. Do you remember that old Manta Res advert where he was sat in an armchair in a big room, and when the stereo started, he kind of got pushed backwards, and all his hair was swept backwards by the power of the sound. It's kind of like that for your eyeballs. The individual focus, because I've had other goggles, I'm sure you guys have as well, where they've tried to do the individual focus thing, and the result was it wasn't particularly good and it was quite fuzzy. This works really well, and I have a 0.25 difference between my left and my right eye, and I didn't realize what a big deal that was in my HDOs until I tried these, and I focused them perfectly for each eye. And that little bit of eye strain that you get with goggles, you know, when you take them off, you kind of have to do that kind of, you blink and you kind of rub your eyes when you've been flying for a while. With these things, you don't get that at all. It just looks like you're looking out the back of the goggles, like somebody's cut a big hole in the back and you're looking out into the field. So I think I would have loved these to have been the HDOs rather than the HD2s. But, you know, there are a couple of things on here that aren't brilliant. The power button, it's got a power button on it. I'm showing everyone the screen. It's where the head tracker cable used to be, and it's a little touch button. It gets shipped in legacy mode, has a little jumper on the board behind it. And legacy mode is where if you plug it in, it powers it up. So let me just plug them in, I'll show you. So if I plug them in, ta-da! It powers up, right? Don't have to press anything. And the button actually turns the fan on and off. If you move the jumper across, then the power button works as a power button. So they actually, hey, Tony!
It's Tony from Texas.
Texas?
Hello. I can't see myself, so what can you see?
We see from about, there we go. That's better.
Are you in Texas with the X-Class? Look at these. Can you see?
We can see. That's very orange.
Very big. There's my one.
Everything's bigger in
Some
Texas.
more along here. Martin's new one.
What with the
Yeah,
washing line?
there's Martin's new. Yeah, we got different things on here.
He loves putting
We
a
got-
bar there.
It's good. We've got the Army, Australian Army drone team here as well. They're racing. There's more people turning up tomorrow.
Have any of them hit on you?
It's quite warm and sunny. No,
Oh, the
but I've
Australian.
matched on Bumble a few times.
The most
Yeah.
important thing.
Yes, the Australian drone team are here. Look, I'll show you. I don't know if I can turn my camera on.
Tony,
They were- I
look
think-
what I've got. Do you remember those really cheap fireworks? I've got so many.
Oh
of
yeah,
them. Yeah. They're
yeah. Watch your face. So we're in a massive ranch at the moment. I'll just show you
Oh, so it's like Brokeback Mountain.
more drones.
Ask anyone
You
for
see
a
all that?
flag. Yeah.
Don't say that. He's on speakerphone.
But
I miss you, honey.
that's mine. That's first place, so that's
Wait.
mine.
Like a wrestling.
Belt. Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah, it
He
is.
thinks he's
Cool.
the big show.
Are you flying today then, Tone?
I've put the X-Class together and tested it. Yeah, we've been out there. The actual racing starts Saturday.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, Martin. So yeah, we're still waiting. There's another house as well. So there's guys in another ranch in another house, a couple of miles away.
Sorry, work's messaging me. Hang on.
Everyone.
That
If you look
that Australian
out there
military.
is. Yes, they are. They've got stuff sponsored by T-Motor, and they've got Army Motors and things like that.
Weren't they the guys?
they're
I
well
mean, I'm pretty sure they're the same guys that UAV Futures did a video with them where they brought that $80,000 little mini drone. Is it the same guys as those?
It may be, I don't know. I mean, they've all got sponsored Australian kit on and stuff like that. So
I
yeah,
think it's them. Yeah, ask them if they brought their $80,000 little helicopter for everything.
I saw that, right? I don't think they've got that. They've got like 5 X classes between them, but
Cool.
there's loads of people here, so and there's more coming. Look, we're literally just starting to set it back up now. There's a guy putting a flag out there, if you can see, he's there somewhere.
Yep, can see him. Is Zoe there?
Zoe's not here.
Is she coming?
Zoe's not coming.
Oh, she's not coming. That sucks.
Here's the Australian. She's not coming, unfortunately. Here's the Australian.
Tony's just pointing at things. It's rude to
There's
point.
people there. It's them. Anyway. I'll come on quickly and say hello. Hello
Thanks.
from Texas.
Thanks
Have
for
a good
coming
show,
on.
guys, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks,
Have
Johnny.
a good fly, y'all.
Yeah, good luck, mate. Go show those Americans how to fly.
Oh, how's the vegan food, Tone?
Yeah. Oh, we've just been at Walmart, so I've managed to bag myself a load of stuff, so I'm all right.
Okay.
Found the soy milk, found all the food,
Found
so I'm all good.
found the
And
integrity
most
shop.
importantly, found some nice IPAs.
Ah, very nice.
So it's all good. All
Awesome.
good. Anyway, have a good show.
See you, Tony.
See you,
Yeah.
Tone.
Bye, Tone. Have fun. I missed you
Bye.
in a gay way.
Love you.
Mwah,
I
bye,
love you,
honey.
but not.
Yeah, with
Bye.
love. Bye.
I just love the idea that he's just hung up and turned round and there's like 70 big Texan lads stood behind him.
Well, I don't need him back anyway.
Yeah, well, in peace. So, any questions? Just to finish that bit about the goggles and things, because we were talking about that. Any other questions or anything that I haven't talked about?
I've got a question, because one thing that has always been a problem with the compact goggles and a large field of view is blurring edges. I know, I'm trying to think what goggles they were that had they were the Ionway V2s, which they don't make anymore, and those had a 46-degree field of view, and they were just on the edge of being blurred. So what are these like for you?
Well, these are a completely different set of optics.
Right.
Again, for those of you listening on the podcast, you can't really see, but there's no diopter support in these. So if you're having astigmatism, then these are probably not going to be the goggles for you. But they are completely different. So these spherical lenses at the front actually work really, really well. So for me, they're pin sharp. But the IPD adjustment being bigger works really well. But and it kind of links back to that question you had about the big thing at the front, the Fatshark logo. So all the reviewers who have had these are pre-production units. Now, what tends to happen when manufacturers make stuff like this is they'll do a limited run of, once all the tooling is set up, they'll do a limited run of the product. And it might be 10, 15, 20 units, just to make sure that everything's all tickety-boo down the line. If it is, and the product comes out and it's right, then they're good to go. If they go through the process and find that there's problems with the tooling or manufacturing or whatever, then they can tweak it before they start it. Now, these all went through beautifully. Half of them went through with the printing on, half of them went through without the printing on. Of course, I got shipped one without the printing on. So I put the sticker on the front, which is actually I actually like the bigger logo, to be honest.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, but now that Greg at Fatshark has seen it, he said, "Oh, actually, I quite like that." So if there are bigger logos in future, I'm sorry, that's my fault. So all I did was just put the sticker on, because originally it had nothing at all. But to answer your question, I think the really tricky thing with goggles like this, particularly with brand new optics, is you've got to try them and see how they work for your eyes. Because when we did the HDOs and you came over, Andy, you brought your diopters. You stuck them in, you had a go. But the weird thing with those HDOs, if you remember, I had one of the early sets of the HDOs, tried them, and they were pin sharp to the corners, beautiful image. And then something weird happened with manufacturing, and the first batch that got shipped out from Fatshark had an issue, if you remember.
Yeah,
I don't even remember this whole, fuzzy gate. So everyone came onto my videos and going, "You're a lying bugger."
Fuzzygate. What was Fuzzygate?
The image was fuzzy.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
Right.
that was an issue. I knew that there was a line
I-
at the bottom with the NTF.
No.
Can I just? Oh my god. Can I just thank Aries, Win, Zero, and Aries again? Oh my god, he's donated £10 as well.
Hey!
Hey. Oh man.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
I saw the fireworks.
We were a bit worried about the integrity of LDO for a while. Thank you, everyone. These are really burning and hot and spitting.
And you've lit. How many have you lit? 3. Okay,
Yes.
great. I think we'll just wait to see if we need to call the fire brigade or an ambulance
They're
before
really
we carry on.
spitty.
Nah, he's a
Bernie.
pro. He's a pro at this. He does this all the time.
Thank
It'll
you.
be fine.
Did
Don't
the-
worry.
Just in chat, did the text to speech work? I'm just wondering.
No idea.
I'm pulling my face back from the screen here, and they're not even in my room.
Yeah,
Jack, I don't know how you do that. That was impressive.
These
Yeah,
are
they're so hot.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you don't have a smoke detector in there, right?
I do. Yeah, of course. Of course. It's there. No one's actually.
The battery's out of it.
No one's actually managed to set it off yet.
Right.
So I had a.
So go on, Wayne. So to answer the question, yeah, they're pin sharp, corner to corner. I have no issues at all. I can see it all round. But come over and have a go, and you can see if they work for you.
What was the fuzz thing? I missed that. What was the fuzzy? And you got called. I didn't know any of that.
Zero. Sorry, guys. Zeros. Yeah. Text to speech
Whee!
works. Yay! It reads what they say.
Fantastic. So what it was that the way the optics have been put together, there was a problem with a handful of units, and they were shipped out, and lots of people who got them came onto my video and basically had a problem because I'd said they were pin sharp and their particular ones weren't. So that's all that was.
Ah, I got you.
Jesus Christ.
And with it being Fatshark, they sorted it out for the people, of course.
Yeah, they did.
That's what they do.
This is deadly.
Wayne, please distract me from the fact that I'm watching Jack burn himself alive.
So my question was about hooking them up to things. So I saw on your Instagram you've got the Bifrost, and I thought that Bifrost really needed something that had that resolution. So have you plugged them in there, and how is it with the HDMI input?
So the answer is no. I've been working through the pile of stuff. So for those, it's here. I know you've had a play with them as well, haven't you? You've had a loaner of a Bifrost system.
I did, but what I didn't have is high resolution goggles, because I felt they look sharper in my Dom V3s.
Yeah.
But I thought I really need a pair of goggles which has got the resolution. So I thought that's where you really get the advantage from them. So I was interested to know how it looked.
I haven't done it yet, Wayne. I'm about to start it next week. Actually, I've had so much stuff to get through because I was away for Halloween. I came back to a huge pile of parcels, so I've been playing catch up. And the Bifrost
Another
stuff.
one. Sorry, lads.
Go for it.
Oh.
Oh my god.
People are obviously liking it. We can't see this. This is on the actual
By
live
the
stuff
way,
itself.
more...
the
Oh,
animation
20.
stuff, isn't it?
Oh my god, man. I've got like 8 of these things.
Oh yeah, it comes up great. I like the little GIF.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And James has just done $1.99 as well.
Yeah, James, Aries. Bloody hell.
I love the smoke alarm test you just put. It's so funny.
I think we've tested it and it's not working. I think that's conclusive
I
now.
could just stand.
How is it working?
Says that they're just trying to kill you, Jack, in the chat.
Please tell me you've got a bucket of water by your side there,
Yeah,
Jack.
yeah.
Right.
It's fine.
Water, methylated spirit, something like that.
How many's he got going there?
You've done 20.
About 6.
20 quid. Yo, how's it going, lads? Oh, hot Bernie, ow.
Oh crap! Has he dropped one?
That didn't go in your lap, did it?
Yeah. God damn you!
You know what? I was handed one of those and couldn't deal with the heat. I don't know how he's doing this.
Oh my god. I've got a scorch mark on my Mac now.
Well, to be fair, Jack, there's plenty of marks on your Mac, isn't there, that you can't get off, so
Oh, Jesus.
one more's not going to make a difference to
Jesus
you.
Christ, how that smoke alarm's not gone off.
Well,
Look at that.
So,
Look
obviously
at the
got
scorch
no-
mark. God damn you, man. I got my... Yes.
It could have dropped in your crotch. I've been counting your blessings, really.
Yeah. It'll buff out. It'll be fine. So Wayne, I'm probably going to pick your brains about the Bifrost stuff that you did, if you don't mind. Speaking to Greg at Fatshark, it sounds like they're... Because the way they've positioned this is really weird. Is they've positioned it as kind of a development platform, not for inexperienced FPVers. Have you seen all that stuff in the listings for it?
No, it was sort of put out as
Thank you,
a...
James.
Here is... I mean, that was one of my little... slightly weird things with it, because it was put out as like, here's a pre-release of a system for people to test in a limited quantity. I think there's like 250 units produced. So it's kind of like you can buy into the product and you can help us beta test it and we'll develop it from there.
Yeah.
But it's not really sort of an open product as such, because there's hardware to buy if you want to develop for it. You have to buy the little chip if you want to develop the camera for it. And I don't think there's anything people can do in the code itself. That's kind of through the HD0 supply stuff, and then the producers can develop their own code. But I felt the results from it were pretty good. Although I had issues with, I didn't think it was very good in range, and I liked the way it broke up, because it was like analog static,
Right.
and I felt you could easily get used to that. Although the blocks of static were quite big, but when you compare it side by side with analog, especially if you're going to fly it in 25 milliwatts, it's really quite noisy in comparison to that. So that was the only things there. But it's early days, so it's going to depend how it goes from there.
Well, yeah, I mean, the early days, I think, is the way to describe it. Because Greg was talking at Fatshark at the beginning of the week about the very latest firmware update that he was going out to test that had added some new features and blah. So I think if you've got one of these Bifrost, you've got to basically act as like a beta tester and get the firmware and update it and be part of the feedback loop and things. But I'm just fascinated to give it a go, because Andy RC has got the DJI HD stuff, which he kindly let me have a go of and was very good. I'm just fascinated to kind of have a go of both, and for him and I to have a proper chat about it, because I loved Connex back in the day. It wasn't perfect by a long stretch.
Yeah, I loved Connex. I had a go of it.
I've still got all the stuff downstairs. I've still got a quad with the Connex system. In fact, that might be a great one for me to put Bifrost on, actually, because I'm not flying it. But that was a great system, and I'm fascinated to see how well it is, because it's a very, very different implementation from the DJI stuff. It's more like what we as FPV flyers know, in that you already have your goggles. There's no module that you can plug into your goggles yet. Hopefully Fatshark will do that. But maybe when we get together next time, we'll have a play with it, Wayne, and we'll plug it in the HDO 2's and see how it all works. But I'm really excited to see how it actually performs.
Yeah, and I liked lots of elements of the system, because Greg got quite upset with my video that I put out. He felt I wasn't supportive enough about it, essentially. But I liked lots of things about it. I like the fact that the VTX is like a VTX, and you can just put it in the existing quad. I think the camera needs to get a bit sharper, but there's cameras coming on board, and I think the whole module needs to shrink down a bit and go in as a proper module instead of a big thing you have to take a tripod with.
A ground station.
But it was interesting to me, because when I was using it with standard goggles, I flew it first, and I thought, this looks okay, but I don't think it looks any sharper. And then I switched it back to analog, flew it again, and said, actually, this isn't sharp at all. And I switched back again. I was like, yeah, I can pick much more details out.
Yeah.
So I think it's you get a sharp picture, but that's what I was really interested to see how you would think about it coming from high resolution goggles. Because another friend of mine, and Rob, we had Rob on a couple of weeks ago because he had both DJI and Bifrost. One of the things he mentioned is the HDOs are so good that he didn't feel there was enough of a difference between a really good analog system and Bifrost, and then at the same time, he doesn't know if he's going to continue with DJI because it was more hassle and he was getting better range and consistent latency out of analog. So it's all up in the air. It depends a lot on your equipment and how it's all put together, it would seem.
Yeah, and what you want and how you fly. I think the two systems are coming from slightly different areas. I think that obviously the Fatshark stuff is very much in the Fatshark immersion RC TBS kind of wheelhouse. The super low latency. That's the kind of gig they're all in. But DJI is just such amazing technology in terms of range, FPV transmission. All that stuff is really great. But okay, I might pick your brains then, brother, if that's all right when I come to do it. Because I'm literally, I took the plastic off it yesterday to start playing with it and do some pictures. And I just got excited because it looks and feels very much like an analog FPV system. So to me, it feels really normal to put it in a quad.
Yeah, I could literally, because I put mine in a Copper Swan, so I could take the VTX that was in there and swap it out with that one. Just like 5 minutes to swap round. The only thing I had to do, because it sticks out the back a bit further, is just move some stuff about. But that going into an existing quad seems much more of an easy thing than fitting the air unit, which is quite a big square block, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, Andy, mate, we were talking over you.
I was trying to remember. I can't remember what I was going to say. I think my perspective on it is, I said in a video, I'm saving up for the HDO 2's, and if Bifrost gets released as a proper product, I'll save up for that as well. I think they're doing two different things. The DJI thing, and you kind of answered this question really, but it depends what you want to get out of FPV, doesn't it? If you want to fly in the moment, then the DJI thing, you put the goggles on, it's people say it's like looking through a GoPro, but you're more sort of cruising around and enjoying the scenery, whereas the Bifrost is trying to be better than analog, like one up on analog, and then you'd stick a GoPro on the top to do your recording and get your, when you watch a flight back. So for me, the DJI system is for like flying it in the moment to get the ultimate sort of HD experience while flying, and then the Bifrost is, it's more to try and improve what we've got with analog. So to me, they're completely different systems, but I embrace both of them. I think it's just great that there's new stuff coming in, because for me, I said it in many videos, like the hub, like quadcopters and the hobby in general hasn't changed that much. Yeah, we've seen little increments. We've got the the little split cameras that came in, and we've got the cine whoop craze, but really it's just regurgitated stuff. People like that 7-inch became a craze, but it was like, hang on, it started off as 7-8-inch, then we went down to 5, and now we're going back. It just goes round in circles.
Yeah, circular. We're back to micro quads again, except now we're calling them
toothpicks.
What are we calling them? We're calling them toothpicks, although they're if you notice them slowly grow and the props get bigger and the frames get bigger, and
they're
like
3-inch toothpicks
standing out.
Whereas this is the 5-inch toothpick. I'm waiting for that one.
Somebody's made a really good point in the chat, and it's something I actually hadn't thought of, and I think it throws it into the conversation into really good perspective. That what the comment is, well, let me just find it. Blah, 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 blah. Catman FPV said, "What about us guys with umpteen quads?" And I think that's a really good point, because you're not going to replace all your FPV transmitters. So if you did have the ability, if you somebody that's been flying FPV with this kind of stuff, and for those people in the audio, I am holding up my Fatshark goggles. If you're flying with this stuff, the fact that you have the modules, you can use your TBS Fusion or your Immersion RC or your True DX 4. Whatever it is you're using for your analog. And then when you get your quad out with the HD system on, you just pull the module and you slap the other one in. And that I think I hadn't even considered that. But of course, it means then you don't have to retire or take umpteen lots of bags to the field. You can just have to take the extra module. That's a really good point. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, all you want, I suppose the holy grail there is a module that could handle both. Something that can do HD and do analog in a nice way.
Yeah,
and record
good.
And record them both, because that's something that both DJI and Fatshark can't do. It's like the recording part done in the goggle for both. It can't be done. That would be something cool to see, I think.
Yeah, it would be good. The DVR in this is the same DVR as it's always been. I've started using a lot of the Tarsia and the what's the Runcam one, the hybrid.
Hybrid, yeah.
In quite a few of my models now, and I'm absolutely loving that. The whole thing about not having to risk a GoPro or have the extra weight in these smaller wings that I've been messing around with is just brilliant. And to be honest, I'm using the DVR footage less and less for making videos and kind of showing people what the flight was like. But the only thing I'd love to with the DVR is a very simple way to record the last 20 seconds of the recording, because when you've been flying for 25 minutes and then you stuff it into the ground and you don't know where your model is, and you have to scrub through all of those minutes, you stood there at the edge of the field looking like a right idiot. We've all been there, right? I just want a button I can press that just plays the last 20 seconds so I can see where it went in, so I can go and find it.
Do you think...
Whenever I have to do that, I literally have to go on my phone and say, what are the controls for the Fatshark DVR again? So I know how to replay something, but this fast forward and rewinding thing is really complicated. I can't remember what to do.
I have to figure it out every time I've had a crash, and while I'm panicking that the battery's running down. So if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to try and use the RSSI trick.
You obviously don't crash as much as me, because I'm straight to it like a fox. Like, there it is. That's the one. I got it.
Till he crashes backwards, and then has to wait for all the leaves to fall out the tree and look for a bit of plastic purple.
That's not what happened. The leaves were there. I just had a moment, but yeah, I've fallen out of quite a lot of trees. I can climb up them. It's getting down that's the problem.
Can you make a video about a masterclass on how to do the DVR then, that I can just watch when I'm at the field I'm doing that thing?
Yeah, like the pause, you'd think you'd be able to like press back one or something, and then it just or up, and then it just brings you to the first one of the. Oh man, it's the worst.
Well, I had a question, and it's kind of like a conspiracy question, right? because they haven't changed the DVR in the Fatsharks, and I'm fine with that because it does its job. And when we had Fatshark, when the HDOs came out, they explained why they haven't changed the DVR, and they said, because modern DVRs don't know what to do with breakup. They drop frames, and this is the best that there is. But Immersion RC have got this power play thing, haven't they? And I just wonder, I know Immersion RC and Fatshark work very close together. I just wondered if it was, put with the conspiracy hat on, is it a tactic so that people go and get the Immersion RC power play because it's a DVR that sits on the side of your...
Didn't they actually have an upgraded DVR in the Scouts that we kind of expected to make it into the HDO2s and didn't?
I don't know about that.
I think it did, yeah. I think because the development cycle on these things is so long, it looks like they were running in parallel. I'm a bit sad it isn't in here because they had an upgraded thing, didn't it? I'm just looking at the power play thing. You know what? I might get one in to have a goof around with.
Because I know Immersion RC and Fatshark, they're separate companies, but they work in the same building, and it's somebody actually commented, "Are you going to be reviewing the Immersion Power Play?" So I looked up, and it's a DVR. I know it records 60 FPS, and it's got like I think it's got a monitor on the side of it as well.
Yeah, it has. It almost looks like the first GoPro without the lens at the back.
Yeah, so again, put with my conspiracy hat on, I was like, have they stuck that DVR in there because Immersion RC have got this product that can't fit in the goggles, but is going to be way better than anything that could fit in a goggle, kind of.
I have to say that sounds slightly cyclic again, doesn't it? Here's a DVR from about 3-4 years ago, and I can't remember which one it is, but Japan DVR made one, and it's got a screen, it's got the SD card, and I just used to slip it in the side of my goggles and record that way, and that was quite good. Although that was only 30 frames a second back then, but the same sort of design seems to have come around again.
Yeah, I think I've got one of those on the way. So yeah, it'd be interesting to check those out.
Painless Toolkit RC have released a really fancy pants digital servo testery thing. Can you get your hands on one of them, please? Because Andrew Newton did, and he said, "Oh, you can't be asked to review it," but he just made like a little quick video and didn't tell me whether it was any good or not. And I'm deeply saddened by that because I love Andrew. Oh, hello. Have you already done it?
No, I'm about to do it. It's very good.
What is with you? I ask you, like, how do you do? Like, videos coming out soon, and send me the link.
Well, that's fine. So I've had a pile of stuff. So this is actually really
show
nice.
the pop out button. I mean, admittedly, I can only get so erect, but
look at that activated.
Stop it.
So as well as being a little servo tester, you can. It also measures the amperage of the servo as you're moving it in milliamps. So
stop it, you naughty girl.
It does stuff. I will send you the link to the video as soon as I've done it. It's actually planned for. I'm shooting the video on Monday, so I'll send you the link when it's up. But no, it's if you're used to a little servo checker, and you're happy with that, then that's great. But if you want to exercise your servos, find out exactly how much current they're pulling, figure out how big your BEC needs to be in your plane and all that stuff, this is awesome.
Can I admit something?
No.
Oh.
I was going to say that actually sounds quite handy because when you're specking up on a plane with maybe 6 servos, if you've got flaps or something, and you're like saying, it's probably about 1 amp per servo, but I won't use the flaps at the same time as everything else, so I've got this like 3 amp bec. Is that going to do it? If you can actually get a proper read on what will happen if you move all control sticks together, that sounds pretty handy for fixed wing.
Right. Let me just see if I can plug it.
I haven't got a servo centerer. I'm sorry.
Right. So if I hang on, let me get it in the right. The only problem is it's got so many modes. It's one of those things that's really complicated to and the manual is absolutely terrible.
Yeah. What, downloaded manual or manual in the thing? Both.
Yeah, both.
Oh.
Right, hang on. So we don't want that. We want it to be
Getting an echo from you, Jack, all of a sudden.
Oh yeah. Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like your main voice is the echo.
Yeah, that's what
There's a quieter voice just before you actually speak. It knows what you're going to say.
Yeah,
it's really
like,
weird.
Quick, do the lottery or something.
I don't.
Right.
I know what it is. It's that. Sorry. Still echoey?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh no, it's stopped now.
No, it's me. It's my monitor was on. Sorry.
FPVSE says, I might be wrong here, but didn't that Fatshark Attitude V5s have the new DVR in them? I don't know the answer to that, but you had them, didn't?
No, you had them as well.
Yeah, I haven't opened them yet.
And still hasn't bought a new phone.
Go and open them and see.
Oh, what a dick.
Thanks, friend.
I love you, really. Look, who chatted to you yesterday?
Can't remember. All the drugs. Surprised you can remember with that heroin crack pipe thing you've got.
Oh, mate, someone complained about that. They said, can I get a FPV podcast where someone doesn't vape into the mic?
You'd be struck to find a podcast where people aren't vaping. Every podcast video podcast, someone's vaping or something.
Any luck, Painless? He's reading the manual, isn't he?
No, I was
held up to the camera.
I was waiting for you for like 3 minutes, holding it up to the camera.
Sorry.
I will talk you through it when we're. But yeah, it's really good, and it does everything that a normal servo checker does, but it's all graphical and stuff. It's not expensive either, actually, for what it is.
No, where did you get it from?
This one came from the guys themselves, but Banggood sell them.
Nice. I'm so sorry, I did not notice. I tabbed out ever so quickly because I haven't got my monitor on. I do apologise.
Right. No, not at all. So, but no, it's here, and there's the other thing they've got, which I don't know if you're interested in, which is
meter.
The watt meter. And that's quite clever because it's got an ESC as a connection at the side, so you can actually plug the power lead from your ESC in and do all of the control from this. So rather than you have to have several things in parallel trying to run your motor, you can do it all in one. There's loads of these cool things coming out. I'm tempted to do a little video before Christmas on festive Christmas presents because there's loads of people I know would benefit from this servo checker.
Yeah, I never got a servo centerer. Like I always, wanted to get one, and I was like, right, I'm lucky enough. I've got a local store, like in Worthing, and I was like, right, I'm going to get one from them rather than adding it to the Hobby King order. And I know that the Hobby King order's not that good. I never thought to add one from Banggood, and then I go to my local hobby store and I either forget or they don't have one up to the quality that I want. So
yeah, I'll stay tuned because if I get any others in and I've got spares and things, I'll stick one in the post to you.
Oh, don't be silly, man. I'll get one from Banggood. But thank you, Lee. I love you dearly. Anything else we want to cover, lads? I have. I put in for stickers. I got vinyl cut out LDO stickers, and I put in the audio.
Cool.
Sorry.
No, there was just that question about the Attitude V5s, whether they had the new DVR in, but the HDO2s don't. Someone asked that question. FPVSE, I don't know if you know the answer, Lee.
Off the top of my head, I don't. It's been a long time since I've looked at those goggles.
Yeah, funny enough, I've got them for review, but I haven't gotten around to them, and they're probably out of date now. But no, I think they're still a good buy because they're in the middle of the range price, amongst the Ionways and the Sky Zones, but they're Fatsharks. So.
Speaking of other goggles, very, very quickly, I've just seen, I don't know if any of you have seen some of the specs for the new Eachine EV300Ds.
Oh, I've heard about them, yeah. Apparently, UAV Futures did a review on them and got something wrong and took them down or something like that. But I've been asked if I want to review them, and I don't know. I hate reviewing goggles. They're the worst things to review, so I'm still thinking about it.
Well, the interesting thing is if you look at the specs, they are almost exactly the same, like for like, as the Fatsharks. So panel size, independence, adjustment of focus, very, very, very similar. But all the receivers are internal. So but there's quite a few goggles that seem to be using similar size panels. So I don't know whether that's just the ones that everyone can get from the factories now, the 1280 by 960s. But that might be a cheaper alternative for those people who don't like the Fatshark brand.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, Eachine were the first company to do the whole built-in diopter thing. The EV100s, they had
Yeah.
such a small screen, but everyone was like, "Why aren't Fatshark doing this?" But they had like a screen that was like a postage stamp. So they, but I know some people, it's their main goggle. Whatever you can afford, and whatever works for you.
I think varying quality. I'm still remembering the Ishii nose circumcisers from the other week we talked about, which weren't very pleasant for either of us.
Hey Wayne,
So-
have you received the Novice 2?
No, it's in the post.
Guess what? The goggles are different.
Are they?
They're,
Oh,
they're
that's.
they're different. They're still.
Are they better? Can't be worse, can they?
I
the fact you're considering that statement is worrying. They were supposed to lengthen the sticks as well.
Video will be up tomorrow.
Oh god. Well, I can't watch it because I'm getting one.
Oh
I was
yes.
just going to ask Lee, how are you getting on with the weather? I've found it particularly bad over the last couple of weeks. Just in terms of I landed a quad. Well, it had an RX fail and went down, and that was it. It was just completely covered in mud, and I couldn't do anything with it after that, and I had to go home. And it's been just a nightmare. How are you coping there? Have you got a decent spot?
No, it's definitely welly weather. I've had a couple of nice days. I had a nice day yesterday when I was up in near Scotch Corner visiting some mates of mine, and that's where we did the video for the Mavic Mini that went up today.
I watched that today. We're out of time, but I wanted to ask you about that. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I tell you what, you can give me a ring.
Not at this time, but
Not this time.
I will give you a ring, and we'll meet up, and we'll sort some. The problem is, and it's funny enough, we're talking about the weather. I've had one day a week, sometimes gone 2 weeks. The garden flooded. I even made a video about us being flooded. So organizing a day where we actually, go and test these things out, and the weather actually playing the game is going to be tricky, isn't it?
It is, and the problem is that any half decent weather, all the dog walkers and everyone else all run out at the same time. So you get to the field, and there's about 4 dog walkers in it. So you're like, oh, bloody hell. So it's a bit tricky. And so I'm Wayne. I'm in exactly the same boat. It was nearly literally, because I live near a place called Northwich here in Cheshire, and the centre of Northwich about 3 weeks ago was at like 2 or 3 feet underwater, which isn't unusual for Northwich. All the houses in the centre of the town are built on stilts. It's very quaint, but it's been a while since it's broke its banks, and we've just had horrendous rain. It does mean at the moment that all the stuff that I can do on a bench and review on a bench is getting used, but I've got about 3 quads sat by the side of me that I'm just waiting to get the flight footage for.
Yeah.
Andy RC, you're northern. We had a conversation the other day. Lee, you're slightly northern.
There's more northern than me.
I'm actually about 20 miles further north than he is.
Okay, so you're even more northern.
Even
Which
more
way
northern.
round do you eat a pie? Because I was watching something. Stop laughing.
I don't understand the question. What do you mean, from the inside outwards, or
no, like
differently?
you bake them, right, and you've got the top crust and you've got the
Yeah.
bottom, and then the soggy bit's the bottom. Do you put the dry bit top side down on the plate and eat from the bottom up down, or do you eat the top?
Right. Okay. So, are we talking about from on the way home from the pub, or like when you're at home and you have time to do things like that?
I don't know.
Right. Okay. Because there is a knack to eating a pie from the chippy on the way home after a night out, where you actually peel the foil down over one edge, and you start, and then you work your way around. I've seen some guys in Wigan do amazing things trying to eat pies. If I try it, I get covered in it. In terms of your question, I would always keep the crispy part on the top. I think turning it upside down is just an abomination, and everyone should be punished.
James May said he liked it because it was like the knife, when you put in it slides gently, and then you get the nice satisfying ka-chunk like that. And
But
there's a
doesn't
few
that-
people in chat that say upside down for me.
Yeah, but doesn't that mean the crispy part ends up being soggy?
Yeah.
So you're all soggy.
I de-lid the right way round and then dunk the crispy bit in the top.
Yeah,
And
it's like free tortillas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyone else?
As soon as you cut into like the top when it's upside down, doesn't like all the insides just sort of jizz out and make a
that's
mess?
one way of putting it.
That's a very interesting descriptive.
New verb, to jizz. Congregate that verb.
Curry, how do you eat a pie? You're very quiet.
I don't eat pies. I don't like pastry.
Oh my god. Right, on that note, thank you. You've been listening to Let's Drone Out. We have been joined by the wonderful Painless 360.
Evening.
I also wanted to send you some really interesting Predator facts that I found out, so you might get a bizarre email from me.
Right, I'll brace myself.
It's incredible, some of the things on that. Did you know they all worked out in secret, and
Yes.
they stopped them working out together because they didn't. They would all not want to be the first person to leave the gym, so they'd exhaust themselves.
They get up at 2:30, go and work at the gym, and then wander in at 6 o'clock when everyone else was in. They were all buff and just go, "Oh, you guys are working out," as they were still all roided out. Yeah, I think I might have seen the video. It's very good.
The costume, yeah. Oh my, so good. Anyway, we've been joined by the lovely and lovable Andy RC.
Tata. Oh, and shout out to Mondo FPV. Jizz out, he says.
Thank you.
He's local, I know him.
Oh, no worries. Everyone's favourite curry kitten.
No jizz here. Goodbye.
Mystery solver extraordinaire. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you so much. I was getting a little bit worried about the integrity of LDO. And I've been Jack, Brighton Till I Fly. And also, I was tuned in, everyone in chat, I was tuned into Big Clive's live stream on his second channel, and there was a guy messaging in his live stream called Drone Racer. He's only got 5 subscribers, so if everyone wants to subscribe to him for no reason, just to mess with him, Drone Racer, if you ever watch this, just so you know, I saw what you got up to. Thank you guys, and good night.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Jack, you still haven't fixed your balls in the background.
Have you pressed the right button yet, Jack?
Yeah. Are
Yep.
we still?
And in what ball? Oh yeah.